Hi, welcome to In a Pickle Knitting. This is a podcast about knitting and today also quite a bit of sewing. My name is Donna. I'm coming to you from Manassas, Virginia. Today is Saturday, September 19th, 2020. And I have quite a bit of finished work, both sewing and knitting. I have some projects that I'm working on right now and some things for the future. It's been quite a while since I've been with you, so pardon my stumbling over the intro here. I hope this finds all of you enjoying your crafting work that you're doing and that you're managing to survive right now. The first thing I'll show you that I finished is my Stillness shawl, which is a curious handmade pattern. It is a half pie shawl. It was a mystery knit along, so you received, I believe it was 5 different clues. And this is my finished shawl. I did make one modification, and that was, oh no, 2 modifications. One was to add some beads right along here. So it's just 4 in a row, it's making a straight down line. I forget which stitch. This might have been the decrease stitch. There was a center double decrease, I think, right there. It's been a while since I finished it, so I've forgotten exactly what stitch. But you can kind of get an idea there. It's the part where it dips down in the V. And then the other thing I did was an I-cord bind off rather than, and the contrast color, I changed the color of the bind off just because I wanted to use more of the pink yarn. I had a lot of yarn left over, started with 100 grams of each of the colors. The purplish color is from So Perfect Pearls. I think the color's berries. This is a 75-25 merino and nylon wool. It is fingering weight, so there's that color. And then the pink color was from Fondant Fiber, and this color is called Mauve Over Darling. Instead of Move Over Darling, Mauve Over Darling. It's I think more pink than mauve, and it has some speckles that match that purple pretty well. And then the gray was from Leading Fiber Arts. It's called London Fog. You can't read it very well there. London Fog. It's fingering weight again. I made a mistake. I had 2 50-gram balls of this, and I started off using this one, I think. And then when it came time to use the gray the next time, I grabbed the new ball. So I ended up using some of each, which was really not smart. But the beads that I added to the end, I buy these at Michael's. I don't even know who. They're just pink beads. And then I use a size 11 metal crochet hook to put those on the stitch. So I'll put a picture so that you can maybe see the whole thing, because there's no way I can hold the whole thing up. But each clue, you know, it changed and had different lace patterns or texture patterns. This is a texture pattern here. And I found while I was blocking it, one of these texture patterns, which was knitting through, I think, at least 3 stitches at a time. I don't know how I made the mistake or how I didn't see that it had done it, but it wasn't together. So all I could do at that point was I went in from behind with some of the yarn and caught all the little stitches and then wove in my ends around it so that it wouldn't fall out. No idea what happened there. Obviously, you know, some error, but I don't know what I did and why I didn't see it. But I like it a lot. It's very lightweight, of course. A lot of yarn left over. I kind of hate that when you've got 3 colors and you break into 3 balls and you just don't use quite that much of it. So scraps for something else. The next thing I finished was the poncho that I was working on. This was with the Wool Folk yarn, which I have to say is such an incredibly soft yarn. Very, very nice to knit with. It's the first time I had knit with a chain plied yarn. There were 3 colors. It is a worsted weight. Right there you can see that chain plied construction. This was on the last color, and this is all that I have left over. I did do more yarn than it called for. This was a kit that was given to me. The cream color, the first color, I used the 3 skeins that came with it. But then I also did 3 skeins of this lighter gray. purchased entirely different timing, and you cannot tell. And then I also got an extra skein of the darker color at the end just to make it a little bit longer. I also, you were supposed to do a garter stitch at the end, but I think maybe just 1 or 2 rows or something. I did however many right there because I wanted that not to curl up. So here it is. I won't know if I have the front or the back. They're really the same. It's very warm. I was knitting on this a lot of the really hot part of the summer, and I couldn't, sometimes I had to just put it away because it was too much. I have blocked it. I just did a steam block, put it down on my, because I thought it was going to totally stretch out too much, and you can see the tightness of the stitch. I really didn't want that to pull out and get elongated, so I decided not to wet block it. Obviously, if it gets dirty, sometimes it'll have to be washed, but I still haven't woven in the ends. I have quite a few of them. No, well, not that many, but I have some to weave in on the inside. I hadn't even realized that I hadn't woven them in until I took it off I had it on my little mannequin to take a picture, and I never took the picture, and then I took it off and realized, oh, you never finished your job. So that is my next finished project. I have been working on, well, I'll pull out the socks I did talk about the last time I did a podcast. I believe I talked about these socks. I might have had one done. This was a pair of shorty socks done with a fish lips kiss heel, which doesn't fit me very well. So you can, these are not for me. I'm going to give them to my daughter. They are from this, don't even remember what it was called, Wisdom Yarns wool-free naked socks. So I thought this would be good for her because she's not good about remembering to keep things out of the washer or the dryer. It is 93% acrylic and 7% PBT. Mysterious thing for me. Don't know what that is and never bothered to look it up. I have enough left over. There's more left over here. I could make another pair because it's more than for the socks. She has a size 6 foot, so didn't need very much. Just a little cuff at the top and the fish lips kiss heel. So we're going to see how those wear, how they wash and dry. And the last time I was also working on these socks from Barking Dog Yarns called Opposites Attract, where you get 2 50-gram skeins where the colors are similar, but the predominant color changes. So the one titled Birds was predominantly blue, but blue would also be in the other one, which was called Bees, and it was predominantly yellow. And I ran into a bit of a problem. That is, I was doing them concurrently. So I did the cuff, and then did the leg, and then the heels, and started down the leg and realized, that's not very much blue left to get, and I didn't have enough blue. So I had to switch to the yellow, but I saved a little of the blue that I had when I figured out my dilemma so that I could repeat the blue down here. So these are kind of unusual looking with that yellow, but this is all the yarn I have left over. This much of the blue and this much of the yellow. So what I could have done instead was knit a shorter leg like I usually do. Can't believe I knit a leg as long as this is. Or do toe-up socks, and then I'd have had a much better idea. But I've never done toe-up with a heel flap and gusset. I don't know what kind of heel I would have put in. I did want to do the heel flap and gusset. So I like them. I like the color, and I know, they're just a little bit odd, but if you had shoes on, this is on the inside. So probably you wouldn't even notice that. So those are done socks. Sorry about that. I have this on a tripod, and my foot hit the tripod and knocked it over, so I hope everything's still back the way that it was. Was reaching for some socks. I had planned to go on to a pair and finish off a pair of socks that I started quite a long time ago, but then I thought, no, this was in July, and I thought, maybe I ought to get started on some Christmas knitting, and I had really wanted to get some socks that for Christmas. So I'm doing for my daughter, son-in-law, and my grandson. But I wanted to use one skein of yarn, and I did this last Halloween when I was trying to stretch a skein of yarn to make 3 pairs of socks. One for a child, and then a man, and then a woman who has a rather small foot. So here is the first pair. This is for my son-in-law, and I had this skein of yarn. I had two of this skein of yarn, two minis, 20-gram minis that I had dyed, and I thought that matched the green pretty well. And then I had this red, which is maybe a little bit darker, but I had dyed this too. So I had, and this was a 30-gram skein. So I did this pair, and I didn't say the yarn. I don't see the ball, the tag. This is from Creative Obsession, and I'll put the name down here. She doesn't dye yarn anymore, so it's not like it's a repeatable one that you can get. These are from, I had sent the yarn off to have it cranked on a sock knitting machine. So I had them do about 75 grams. So all I did was add the cuffs, heels, and toes. Then did the same thing for my daughter, but I did my grandson's in the middle. So I took the 25 grams that hadn't been made into the tube, because of course it was 72 stitches around, and that was actually too big for my daughter, but it's okay, they're just house stocks. But for my grandson, that wasn't going to work at all. So I did his with 56 stitches, and I decided to do a knit 3 purl 1, and not on the bottom of the foot, but all the way to the top of the foot, but around the ankle, just to help them stay up a little bit. You know, it stretches out and can hug in. So these are a little different because they have a red toe, and that's because I was running. I just run out of the first skein of the green, and then I thought, well, I'll use the second one for the second pair in case they weren't quite a good match. So then the third pair have green heels and toes and a red cuff. So they're all a little bit different that way. But you'll notice how these didn't pool with a smaller diameter. And the pooling on these would have been different too with a smaller diameter. I don't think 72 is the best idea for me. I don't know why I decided to do that. I didn't want them to be too tight. You never know. So those are ready for Christmas. And I'm also making them some Christmas pajama pants. I hadn't planned to show this, but it's going to be this Grinchmas fabric. So not a match or anything like that, but I thought, okay, that's fine. So I have this fabric to make them the pajama pants, and then I'll buy red shirts to go with it. Okay, more socks. I decided I would take the end of a skein of my Desert Vista Dye Works socks yarn that I knit a pair of socks last year from. This was called the Westing Game, I think. I don't remember, and I didn't have the tag. I just had a little bit left over, and I knew after doing these, I weighed them, and whatever they were, I had enough to do these. So they're a little bit different. I didn't start them in the same place, and that was because I was conserving yarn. And what I did was when I got to the heel flap, I just knit black and then cut out the color section, and then knit black and cut out the next stripe and knit black. So I did that, and that way I had extra colors because it took the green stripe that was coming up here plus 2 of those little pieces that came out of here. So a lot of ends to weave in. I don't know why I really wanted the heels to just be the solid, but they're the same, but they're different, and I think he'll like these. Kind of nice at the Halloween time coming up. He's totally into that. And then I had a skein of yarn from, excuse me, there, Felt Fusion, and this is, I think, called Whoville. And I knit this pair of socks. And I had started off thinking maybe I was going to do the Christmas socks for them out of this, but the way, let me grab this. This is what I have left over, and I knew this wasn't going to be enough left over because I didn't do the contrast on the toe. I thought to do 3 pairs of socks, and then I kind of thought maybe the guys wouldn't like that pink in here. So before I decided to use the other skein of yarn, I thought, well, I'll just order some more. So I went online and I ordered another skein, and I've saved it like this because I thought I would open it on here because it came like this. This was sent from overseas, and this is their way of packing it. But I can tell without even opening it that the pinks aren't the same. It's been that skein that I already had was 2 years old. So let me grab my scissors. I had some other yarn come like this one time, and maybe you won't even enjoy, but I really liked watching it puff up because I was very surprised when it came that way. How all of the air coming out of it, just exactly how much air is in there. And look, it's plumping up already. But you can tell the pinks aren't the same. So I don't know. I think I might do for my mom and my sister a pair. And I'll just have to do one out of this and one out of this and make sure I have enough to do that. So this is another pair of socks, and these will just probably be for me unless I decide to maybe give those to my mom or sister. Okay, so I'm dropping stuff all over the place and my eyes are darting from place to place. I'm looking over here just to see. I think that's all I finished since the last time that we were together. I have some things that I'm working on, and they're over on this side, so let me grab a couple of those. Well, the first one is my Battenberg blanket, which is a crochet blanket, and I've been working on that quite a bit. I am up to, I'll put the number here because I don't remember now. I think it's in the 500s in the number of little squares that I have. And I have crocheted 20 more of the natural color one and 20 more different squares to add to this. And so I'm going to add, I think it's a row across the top and a row across the bottom, because now it's 20 wide, and longer than that it'd be about, I think, 24 long, but that will make it 26 long. And then I'm going to stop, and I've decided I want to put kind of a big border on this. I'm thinking about 2 inches. These are 2-inch squares. So I'm thinking in the natural color, do about a 2-inch crocheted border. I've looked at a few pictures of blankets when I've said crochet border, and looked at some pictures that I've liked. And there was one that was, it looks like really simple. It may not be for me because I'm not good at following crochet patterns, but it seemed like maybe it was just rows of double and single crochet with something special being done at the corners, because it made a mitered corner like you might put on a quilt binding. So I'm thinking that's what I'd like to have going around it, and I think then it's big enough. I laid it down even without adding the 40. It's the size of my coziest memory blanket and a little bit smaller maybe than my granny stripe blanket, but I think that's big enough. I don't want a blanket that like covers a bed or anything. These, when used, are more like a lap blanket when you're just watching television and you're cold or something. So that's what this is going to be for. So I think that when I finish working on a few other things, I want to finish this up. I am going to attach the little squares now, today, tomorrow, and then figure out exactly what I want to do for the border, which pattern I'm going to use, because I'll definitely need a pattern, and then go ahead and get the border put on this, and it will be done. So maybe the next time that we're together, I will have a finished Battenberg blanket. This is the Battenberg blanket. It is by Cherry Heart, and there is it's a free pattern. It's on Ravelry, or when you're on Ravelry and you click on something, it takes you maybe to where the pattern is. And in that place, there is also picture tutorials of how to make this little granny square, along with a way of starting them, and they're attaching as you go. I don't do that. I like to do single little squares, and I've enjoyed doing the squares a lot, but I don't really like doing the natural color ones. After a while it's like, okay, oh, now I have to do 20 of those, and that's not as fun to me as the colored ones. But I had thought of maybe making another Battenberg blanket using worsted weight, and maybe just some set colors that match this chair I have in my family room. And I thought I've got several colors in there that I could pick up on, and I thought I'm just going to try it. I'll make some squares and put them together just the same way as this, and see if I like it. But I think that might be fun, because with the worsted weight it makes, and also I was thinking, instead of doing the number of rounds. So you have that first, second, and third round, maybe do 4 in worsted weight. So a little bit bigger squares, then that would be faster. So that's something that's in the back of my mind to do. Of course, that involves buying a lot more yarn, and I'm trying to use up stuff that I already have. So if I decide to do that, I'm back into buying more yarn, which is the same thing that happened with the next project. Let me grab it. My local yarn store, the Yarn Cloud, sent an email talking about a knit along they were going to be doing. One of the companies that they sell yarn for is Art Yarns, and this is an Art Yarns knit along. And to do this pattern, it's a worsted weight, and you need 2 skeins. The skeins are ombre, and there's a variety of different colors. So it's not that they just exactly go from, say, blue to white, but that's what one of my skeins does. It's a powdery blue to white. And the other one is a dark gray to light gray, but the dark gray will pick up in different places and the blue will pick up in different places, but it's definitely an ombre effect. And it's a slip stitch pattern, so you're knitting with the 2 yarns at the same time. Now, every row is just 1 color yarn. It's slip stitching, but I think it's a mosaic pattern. So this is the yarn that's being used. It's Art Yarns Merino Cloud, which is beautiful, beautiful. It is 80% extra fine merino wool, 20% cashmere. There are, I think I must be wrong on this. I'm sorry, I said it was worsted weight. This is fingering weight yarn. It is 100 grams, 437 yards. So it's yards. It's a fingering weight. And I'm using the colors 706 and 711, but I don't know which of these colors is which. So here's the first one. This is the gray to almost a white, a creamy white, but you'll see how that dark is in there, but you see it here, and you can see some along the outside edge too. The blue is mostly powdery blue in here and mostly white on the outside. So I've started in the center of both balls, which you'll see is the darker part, and then more light on the outside. And I've decided now that's a mistake, because when I get to, right now I'm using this part, and when I get to the end, which is the largest part of the shawl, you start off with just a few stitches and go out. It's triangular shawl. It's called straight on the bias shawl, so it's one of those that, it's going to curve because of the bias there. I'm going to need the blue to be with the lighter part of this. So I just cut this, and instead of pulling from the center anymore, I attached it, and I'm knitting now from the outside of this one and the inside of this one. But it's not what I was doing for all the part I'm going to show you. I am in the first part of the clue, but I have just started the 3rd slip stitch pattern, and then there's a garter pattern. So you start down here, and you can see how sometimes it's white and sometimes it's blue, and then the grays are sometimes light and sometimes dark. And it went into then this slip stitch pattern here for a while. And then we had a garter stripe section. And then this slip stitch pattern is different than this one. And you can see that you can see right in there the blue and the cream, but then here there's some light gray in there too, so that lightens things up. And now I've just finished another garter section, and I've started the 2nd slip stitch pattern. I don't know how many slip stitch patterns this has. I'm going to put a picture of 1 or 2 up here for you to look at in different color combinations. So now I'm going to be having it'll be more white with the darker gray, so that maybe they'll continue to be contrast when it gets to the big part, because there are these interesting squares. And I started thinking, gee, those are going to be light gray and white, and that's not even going to show up. So I really did make a mistake. I didn't know, that much about the pattern when I was starting. But what you do with this pattern is, the pattern is free. But what you do is you buy your yarn, you post your picture of your yarn on your project page, make a project page, post a picture of it, and then she sends you through Ravelry a private message, your pattern for the first part. And then when you finish the first part, you post your picture, and she sends you the second part of the pattern. So that it's that kind of a knit along that you're doing. And I think I was going to say something else, but right now I can't remember what. So I got my yarn last Saturday, and this is Saturday, so that's what I've done in a week. I didn't get started on it until maybe late on Sunday. By the way, if you're hearing weird noises in the background, I'm so sorry, but I really have trouble podcasting when anybody is at home. So my husband's out for his long run this week, and my neighbors, which is a really long story of maybe why you don't want to live in a neighborhood without a homeowner association. I know a lot of people hate them. We don't have one, but they're redoing, they had a lot of dirt delivered to their yard, and now they're spreading it with the little Bobcat machine. So the Bobcat machine arrived this morning, and I'd already planned to do this, and I just didn't know when else I could do it. So I'm sorry if that's distracting. I hope it's not. Okay, for knitting, that's all I have, but I do have something in the works, and that is October's quickly going to be here, and I want every October to knit some of the knitted knockers. So I have just wound this yarn up. This is the Cascade Yarns Ultra Pima Cotton, which is one of the recommended yarns from Knitted Knockers. They only accept certain yarns because they know they're what people can tolerate next to their skin, and softness, and just fibers for allergies, etc. But this is one that they accept. And I use a size 5 DPNs when I'm knitting this. I do have a pattern for Magic Loop, but that pattern really just was harder for me than doing the DPNs. So I'll use the DPN. So I want to have at least 2 pairs, and I still have, so I'm going to do, well, you can get quite a few out of one of these. I think, well, no, at least 2. I think this is enough for one. This was left over from last year, and I had this. So I may do a second set in the light color, or it'd be nice if I did more than that, but they actually take me a little bit of time. Don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's cotton yarn, so it doesn't stretch very well, and that's a little tricky, and you have to do these make ones all the time. And so that just takes a while because the yarn's a little bit of a problem for me, just because it doesn't stretch, and that stitch is, I think it's make one right, and that stitch and I just don't like each other at all. So anyway, that is what I'm going to work on sometime. I hope to get those done before the end of October. And now on to some sewing. I've really done quite a bit of sewing recently, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. So I'm going to show you some of the projects that I have finished and are working on. The first one is this apron. It's by Sue O'Very Designs. It's called the Serger pattern, Cooking in Color Serger Apron. So there you go. You can see it's a number of different pieces of fabric. In fact, I think they tell you can do like out of fat quarters. I made 2 of them, and I made a little bit of change to the way I made it, because while I used the serger for some of the seams just to overlock the edge of the seam, I didn't sew it based on their serger directions. I used the sewing machine for it. So here is my first one. So you have this one side. I think that could be a fat quarter. And there is a zipper here in this pocket. I guess if you want to hide your money, your phone, I don't know. But then this is also a pocket that slips in. So those who carry a cell phone, your cell phone would definitely fit down in there. So you can see my fabrics there. I really liked this for kitchen because it has these recipes for sweets, dessert things. And then what I did differently was around the waistband, because they have you using some fancy serger stitch that I don't know how to do at all. So that's my first one. And then the second one has the same red fabric, but a different coordinating fabric. This one is a little bit more blue. This is a little bit more green, and totally different patterns. But here it is. So it's this one. I remembered to do this little part where this is supposed to be so you can hang your dishcloth right through there to keep your hands clean. And I just cut the pieces out and totally forgot to do it on that one. I'd already finished the waistband, and I said I'm not going back to rip anything out and put that little tag on, because I don't actually think I would put my dish towel there. So, and again, here's this, and a zippered pocket and a throw-in pocket. So I thought that was kind of a cute pattern, and I'm gonna, one's for my mom, one's for my sister, and here they are. I also made 2 pot holders for them that will match their apron. Well, this one is the same on both sides because I think I didn't have very much of this one, but this one I had more of the fabric. For the inside of these, I have that batting that has little silver stuff in it. It's a heat resistant material and has a little bit of a crinkly sound to it. All I did for quilting these was just this diamond pattern. So, aprons and some little thrown together pot holders. And the next thing that I made, get rid of that pattern, is called a caddy pad. There you go. And this is from Sisters Common Thread Caddy Pad, Clever Iron Toad and Ironing Pad in one. So if you go off to classes, like a quilting class where maybe they don't provide your iron, then you can take your iron with you. So here is mine. I used a fabric that has these little scissors on them, and this one has pins. You have, and my iron, which is a rather large iron, I should go get it and put it in here, fits in here. So both sides have this button, and you open the button up and lay it out, and you have an ironing surface. This is the ironing board fabric. Like sometimes you can buy ironing board covers that have that silvery finish to them, but inside I think was 2 layers of batting that has that same batting like you do for the pot holder. So the heat isn't going to necessarily, now you wouldn't do this on a nice wood table because your steam would probably go through, but you can do it on like a sewing table that's waterproof or a kitchen countertop, that sort of thing. So then it is your ironing pad. I just thought that was so clever, the way that it then folds up. So I'm going to go put my iron in it so I can show you that it fits, and I have a pretty big iron. So here is the iron in here, and you can take it with you. I think that's really a clever idea. And the silver fabric came in the pattern. So that I did not have to buy separately or try to figure out where to get it. She tells you what else you need for it, the batting and all that. Okay, so that was another project. And then I found this pattern called Stash and Dash Fold Over Organizer. And I really liked that because if you look there, you see these zipper pockets? They have that mesh fabric on them. This is the mesh that I used. It's by Annie's, and you get quite a big piece here, 18 by 54. And you see that in a lot of commercially prepared little tote type things. This is the first one that I made, and I made it according to the pattern. It has this vinyl pocket on the outside and this strapped handle. It's a little tiny bit tight right there, right for me to get it through there, because inside of this, it's not just fabric, there's some webbing. Well, I wasn't really sure what to get, and I had this, and it actually was the right width, so I used something. It was a cotton, like you might make a cotton belt out of, and so that's what's in here, which is sturdy, but maybe it's a little bit thicker than what they were talking about. I don't know for sure. So then you open it up, and I had used purple mesh because that's what I had at the time. And then it's these little pockets. So you could use it for sewing supplies. Again, if you were going to travel and sew, you might have your scissors and different things in here. Or just cosmetics as a travel bag. And so that's that. Now, then when I showed my husband and I finished, I said, oh, look what I made. He said, oh, you should make one for our grandson. He's 5. And he loves to put stuff in stuff. He loves little containers of any sort. Even like an oatmeal container, you know, the cylinders, any kind of container. He likes to just collect stuff. I'm really afraid he's going to be a hoarder. He just loves collecting stuff, any kind of stuff. So I made one for him. just like this out of fabric that I had that he would like. And then I thought, you know, I think it'd be kind of fun or maybe even useful to have a larger one. And all along I had wanted to not to have to put the strap on it, but I had these little magnetic clips. So I thought, I'm going to do it with a magnetic clip. The downside of that is if you fill that really full, then if you put the magnet in one place, it's not going to fit you packing it in. So what I did was I kind of loosened it up on the one that I did with the magnet. So this one is wider. Let me pick that back up and show you. It's wider and it's a little bit longer. But I did this out of a fabric I made a purse out of last year. And here's the magnetic closure. All of these, this part is quilted, so this one you can see better. And again, I quilted it in that same sort of pattern just to put it together. What's in between the fabric pieces is not batting. It's Annie by Annie, soft and stable. It's like foam with fabric on either side. So it's kind of cushy. And I did not have any zipper, 3 of them in a color. So I have 3 different color zippers here. And I used an aqua colored mesh, and I have a blue zipper because there was blue. I have this color, which I think there's sort of that color. And then this green color, there is the green color in it. But that was how I solved that problem. I don't think it really makes any difference, but it does have larger pockets. I did not put the vinyl pocket on the outside because I wasn't sure if I really would need that vinyl pocket, but I could have, you know, gone ahead and put that on there. So I made myself, or maybe a gift, I haven't decided. I just have felt like sewing and making things and using somewhat what I have. Not being 100% successful in that, and I will tell the truth, and not at all. The next thing I made was out of entirely stuff left over from making some other stuff last year, and that is this little, I made a table runner last year, and I made a smaller version of the maple leaf and used some of the same fabrics. And then I did I tried my hand at some free motion quilting with a variegated thread that's oranges and fall colors, and just did this little meandering design. Now, I know there's something called meandering with free motion quilting and stippling. To me, they look a lot alike. I think the stippling is closer together. I don't know which one this is. I just quilted it. I just had fun on the sewing machine, and I crossed myself, which I think I read, oh, you don't cross your lines, but hey, I did, and I don't care. This is a little mug rug. It could also be used on the table as a, maybe, not really a hot pad, because I just put regular cotton batting in here. I didn't put that heat resistant type, but there we go. And then I found this fabric. Well, I had this fabric. That's what the leaf fabric is on that. I used it last year as the backing and the leaf fabric on my table runner. Well, this is a table runner or a wall hanging. I did put a little pocket on the back that would hold a dowel, so you could hang this up. Or you can put it on a big table as a table runner. Now, this is just a panel. So all of the work on here for color is entirely the panel. I did do some quilting. I quilted around all the leaves and these little thingies and the bird. Love the bird. And then just did some zigzaggy sort of a design down on the bottom. This is the back. It's a coordinating fabric in the sun's, there we go, the coordinating fabric. You can see there that I just quilted around the leaf. So after making this, I was making this for my daughter, for her, she has a big dining table, and I thought, okay, that'll fit on there, or even her coffee table. This would fit on hanging off, maybe not even hanging off, but maybe a tiny bit. So she's gonna take this, but after making it, I found there is a quilt based on this. So I've ordered the quilt pattern. I have another panel, and I have the other fabrics. I just haven't gotten the pattern yet. I ordered it on Etsy, and I did not see that it was coming from Canada. So I hope it gets here soon. They've already mailed it. They said they mailed it on the 15th, and today's the 19th, so who knows. But coming from Canada, you just don't, I don't know. Maybe it'll get here quickly. I have no idea, though. I wish I'd paid attention. But I don't know if the pattern was available elsewhere, so that might have been my only choice anyway. And I did another table runner slash wall hanging. So this is for Halloween. This also has a little pocket in case you want to put a dowel in there and hang it up. And this one has, this is all one panel and a different fabric on the back from the same collection. So you'll see these shoes. I love these. I quilted over the spider design all the way around the shoe, and then I did that meandering stippling pattern in here, and then I did around the squares. This one is a pumpkin. I did, you know, around the mask or whatever. And there's a cat. I just did around the cat. And I did around the owl. And another pumpkin that's the same but with different colors. And the other shoe. So if I can get a picture of these put in, I will, so you can see the whole thing. I really enjoyed doing that. I'm having fun with the free motion quilting. I'm not particularly good at it, but I enjoy doing it, and I'm hoping that I will improve, even though I have seen some improvement already. So I will keep doing that, and I have to go look around and see what else I had. No, I think there wasn't something else. Well, there are some other things, and I think that's what I was thinking about. I do want to share our children's literature book today, and this one I've had on the shelf for a long time, and I don't know why I just always go for the fiction. This is nonfiction, but it is for children, although I think that adults could use this just as easily. And this is Susan B. Anderson's Kids Knitting Workshop. It is intended to help you teach middle-aged children to knit, and she has several projects in here, but she covers everything and tells you how to use the book, how to get ready, what supplies you're going to need, and she explains, I wanted to show you, like how to read the label on a ball of yarn, what the different weights of yarn are, what symbols you'll see. How does yarn come in these kind of pulled skeins, the circles, or is it in a hank that you have to wind up separately? She tells you how to wind a ball of yarn and how to get that big skein that has to be wound up, what kinds of knitting needles there are, and then she goes into some beginner projects. So this is where I think as a beginner knitter, this would be just fine for an adult. It doesn't have to be for children. Showing you how to cast on and even how to tie off that little loose end so that you don't pick it up and knit with your leftover yarn. How to join, and she starts you off knitting in the round. I think if you're teaching someone to knit, that is the best place to start, is in the round, because all you're doing is the knit stitch. Unless you're trying to make a hat that has a brim that's, you know, has some your rib in it at the beginning, then you're 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl. You don't like get that train of just knit, 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 knit. But I think you can make hats that have a rolled brim, so you can start that way, and you can even close off some hats without having to do decreases. Now, usually you do have to do some decreases, but she tells you how to do that. And here you go. She shows a little hat to make, see the rolled brim? And then I think they did some decreases, but then pulled it in and closed it up. There are several projects in here. I'll just, leg warmers and mostly tube things, but then she teaches them how to do a couple little stuffed animals and some flat knitting. We're going back and forth, but knitting in the round I think is a great way to start. Here's the back of the book. I think this is a great book if you want to teach someone to knit, to give them a reference they can go back and look at. So that's our children's literature book for today, and I'm going to pause right here for a couple seconds. Well, if you join me just for knitting and sewing, and the children's literature book, I'm pretty much at the end of that. But the last time I talked with you, I said that I would be having an Etsy shop update, and I showed some bags. And in the time that's come between them, this time and that time, a couple of changes have been made. To one of the bags, I'm not going to offer it at all. Another one, so I want to talk about those, but if you didn't come for that, you can cut off here because I don't think there'll be anything else at the end that you'll be interested in. I want to go through the bags, so I'm going to put pictures of them here, and the reason I want to go through them is because I know in the past, whenever I have done an Etsy shop update, they go fairly quickly, and so if you already know which one you want, it'd be easier for you just to get in and click that one for those, you know, maybe presumptuous that you want any of them. But if you do, I would hate that you get on there and then something's gone because you're trying to read what it is, what it has. So I'm going to just add the pictures. I'm going to go ahead and talk now, and I'll add the pictures, and then the shop update is going to be on tomorrow, which is September 20th, 2020, and I'm going to put it up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is my time, which is Eastern Standard Time. So 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, September 20th, 2020. Okay, so and hopefully they will be there for a while, but let me just quickly put the bags on because I've actually sewn quite a few more. I think I have 25 bags rather than just the few that I've shown you because I have been sewing a lot and kind of got into it. So I'll start with this one. I call this one a blue and white zippered knitting project bag. This has a zipper on the top and inside is a patch pocket. So this is the most simple bag that I make, and the simple ones, I do price them based on fabric and amount of work, etc. And if they have 3 zippers, they're a lot more work than one with 1 zipper. So that's why there's price difference and also fabric prices and etc. There's a method to everything, but this is $22. The next one I want to show you, I have 3 different hydrangea fabrics, and that's the reason there's a number after this. This is called Hydrangea 3, which is the 3rd one that I made with the hydrangea fabric. The Hydrangea 3 knitting project bag. This is a 1 zipper on the top bag with a patch pocket inside, $22. The next one is a Shamrock knitting project bag, which again is 1 zipper on the top patch pocket, $22. There's the Dragonfly, and you'll see I made that, whatever you call that, stash thing out of the same fabric with the same lining. The Dragonfly knitting project bag, a zipper on the top and a patch pocket inside, $22. And all of my bags have a detachable handle. They're all lined. They all have polyester fiber fill and are interfaced. The next one is I have 2 bags out of this fabric. This is the small one. This is called Kitty Knitting Project Bag. It is these cats with the books on bookshelves. Inside is a patch pocket on this one and a detachable handle. It's $22. The measurements are on the website, on the Etsy website, but this is what I call the smaller. These are all in a smaller range. Okay, the next one is the bag that I said changed, and this is, I had shown it to you as a larger bag. I didn't like the interfacing on the bottom of the bag, so I decided instead of selling it that way, which just, I tried to talk myself into it, but I couldn't. I took it apart and used the cupcake fabric and then a new piece of fabric for the bottom. And because of the constraints of fabric I had for the bottom, I needed to make the bag a little bit smaller than the other bag had been, which was a very large bag. So this is $22 cupcake project bag. Then I have a Halloween knitting project bag. You'll notice it's the fabric that's the backing of one of those table runners I showed you, but this is a bag and a notions pouch. It is $25. There's a patch pocket on the inside of the bag. This bag is called a teal zipper knitting project bag because it has a teal zipper at the top, and I have 2 fabrics that are kind of similar, and I wanted to make sure I didn't make any mistakes when describing them. This one has 2 zippers. It has an inside zippered pocket as well as a zipper on the top, and it is a deeper bag. It has a wider base. The next bag that I'm showing is, I'm going to show 3 that are going to be the same but different colors. There is a blue ombre knitting project bag. There is a magenta ombre knitting project bag, and there is a green. These are all a little bit taller bags, and they have a contrast base. So it's a black canvas base to the bags. The ombre on the inside is a lighter color, and these all have a patch pocket on the inside. Next, I have another kitty bag. This is called the Tall Kitty Knitting Project Bag. It is taller than the other. It has a black canvas base, and it has both kitty bags have patch pockets on the inside. The next bag, I'm calling it a Tall Magenta Zipper Knitting Project Bag because it is a similar fabric to the other. And it has a magenta zipper at the top. It has patch pocket on the inside. This is a tall, rather large bag. It's deep and tall. It is $26. If I didn't say that, tall kitty bag was $26, and the ombre bags were $24. I think I forgot to say that, sorry. Okay, then I have a Knitter's 3-zipper knitting project bag. I have one with a yellow lining, one with a pink lining. The one with the yellow lining is slightly less than the one with the pink lining because the one with the yellow lining, the zipper pull is on the wrong side inside the pocket. It's on the right rather than the left, and I made a mistake, and I had to take one end of the zipper out and then re-thread the pull tab back on. And when you do that, the zipper's going the wrong way, and I didn't realize it till I'd already sewn it back down. I really didn't want to take the whole thing out, so I just am charging less for the one with the yellow lining, $26, and the one with the pink lining is $30 because these are 3-zipper project bags. It is a rather small bag. The measurements are on the Etsy page, but the 3-zipper bags involve a lot more fabric and a lot more time to put together. That's what my tutorial is based on, is the 3-zipper project bag. Next is an Hydrangea 1, that's the fabric knitting project bag. This does not have contrast at the bottom. It has 2 zippers. It has a zipper at the top and one in the inside pocket. It's $27. We have finally the third fabric, which is Hydrangea 2 knitting project bag, and it comes with a quilted notions pouch. This bag has a patch pocket inside, and it's $29 because it's both. Next is the Roses and Gingham 3-zipper knitting project bag. I had said there were 2 of those bags, but I've decided to keep one of them. So this one is the only one that there's going to be, and it's $30. The next is a Tall Coffee knitting project bag. This is a tall bag. It has a patch pocket inside and a zipper pocket inside. So it has 2 pockets inside. And it has a little tiny bit of free motion quilting along those polka dots that you see at the top and kind of at the upper top middle. And also the red coffee cup on the front of the bag have some free motion quilting. So that was $30 if I didn't say. And then I have that Shark knitting project bag with the sock blank. The sock blank is not, that's not 100 grams. I think it was more like 60 grams. There's a patch pocket inside that bag, and it's $30. Then I have an Anna of Green Gables at Christmas time 3-zipper knitting project bag. This bag's a little bit taller than most of my 3-zipper bags, and that's because I wanted certain parts of that fabric to show. This is $32, and it has 3 zippers. Then we have the large Hydrangea 1 knitting project bag. This does not have a contrast base. It does have a patch pocket inside and a zipper pocket inside, as well as a zipper on the top. It is $33. The next bag I have, the next 2 bags are both going to have on the top front of the bag is free motion quilting around the design. And the winter one is called Nordic Winter, I think, or something like that, Nordic something. And it has 2 zippers. It has an inside zipper and the top zipper. It has a contrast base and the detachable handle. And I'm not remembering the price of this bag. It is more because of the free motion quilting. And that I had to use a lot of extra fabric to try and get 2 reindeer on the front and 2 on the back. And my last bag is an autumn leaves bag, and on the top front part of the bag is free motion quilting around the leaves and those maple seeds. It has a contrast base. This is a very tall bag. It has a zipper on the inside and the top and a detachable handle. And this one I do not remember the price either because I didn't get these 2 printed out. They were the last 2 that I put on and I didn't print out after that, sorry. But for the most part, that'll tell you what is going to be on the Etsy shop. And in future, if I make any more bags, because I have 2 cut out that I haven't had a chance to get sewn up, if I do any more, I'm not going to announce them on the podcast. I'm just going to put them in on the site. So they may sit there forever. I don't know. And when I do come on a podcast, if they're still sitting there, I can mention what they are. But I just don't want to have to wait and do the podcast. It kind of got me in this jam. I would have time to do a podcast or the opportunity, and then I wouldn't have a bag done. It's like, well, I want to have that one done. So I just think that timing wise, it gets really confusing for someone like me who gets a little confused. So it's been so nice to talk with you again and see you again today, and I hope that you are having lots of fun with what you're doing. And I am really enthused about sewing right now. For some reason, that's, of course, knitting always, but that's sometimes a different time of the day that I'm knitting. But I have the time right now, and it's just what I feel like doing. So I'm really into trying to learn more about the free motion quilting on my machine and seeing if I can get better at that. So that's mostly what I'm up to, and there's otherwise very little going on. One day blends into the next. My biggest excitement was I actually did go to the eye doctor and got new glasses because I just couldn't see at all anymore, and they were allowing in-person appointments. So that's been my biggest excitement in getting out of the house and someplace different. So hope this finds you well. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Got it?
It's gone half.
Good job.
Can I have
Yep.
a paper towel soap?
Yep.
A bucka bakey.